This is not a passing of the torch. This is a hostile takeover. Ilia Topuria didn't just beat two of the greatest featherweights of all time, he dismantled them in style. From the shadows of European MMA to the bright lights of the UFC, El Matador has amassed a highlight reel that drops jaws to the floor. It's not just his knockouts that are turning heads, it's the manner in which he demolishes elite competition. Sharp hands, devastating combinations, body slams, slick submissions. Ilia seems like a true evolution of sport. The UFC has a new king, and he's just getting started. Born to Georgian parents in Germany, Topuria started training judo at 4. His family moved back to Georgia at 7, where he discovered Greco-Roman wrestling. His father, a wrestler in the past, helped him excel in the discipline. At age 15, political issues forced the family's move to Spain, where Ilia added BJJ training to the mix. He quickly realized his potential in mixed martial arts and asked permission from his parents. With his father's blessing, he quit high school and started training MMA full-time. By the time he made his MMA debut at 18, he'd already participated in countless jiu-jitsu and wrestling tournaments around Europe. He won his 4 fights in the local mixed fight organization with submissions before moving on to Cage MMA and Cage Warriors. After amassing a notable record of 6-0 with 6 submissions, he headed to Brave CF in 2019. Someone in the UFC must have noticed his talents after a signature submission win in his first Brave fight, and a knockout in his second, because he shortly received that much desired call for his UFC debut. An 8-0 contender with 7 submissions, Topuria made his UFC debut with little fanfare. A short-notice first fight without a training camp against unranked Youssef Zalal did not generate much hype either. The opponent's elusiveness proved too much for Ilia's repeated takedown and submission attempts. However, he managed to win by unanimous decision, the first non-stoppage victory of his career. His second fight, however, against unranked Damon Jackson, showed his true potential. Given his top-tier ground game, Topuria had now been focusing on his boxing and Muay Thai skills. His opponent, who probably came in expecting a hugging contest, tasted the canvas with a devastating combo in round 1. Crisp and with power in both hands, Ilia seemed less like an unranked MMA fighter and more like a boxing prodigy. Seeing how he finished his last opponent, the UFC tried to match him up with a slippery eel by the name of Ryan Hall. The winner of The Ultimate Fighter and a seasoned practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who was also known for his nasty heel hooks, tried his signature move many times without any success. Topuria, moving less like a new kid on the block and more like a seasoned veteran, remained patient and waited for his moment. It wasn't until another failed heel hook attempt that he trapped Hall's arm behind his back and hammered his face into orbit. This fight was on the undercard of UFC 264, Poirier vs McGregor 3, one of the biggest UFC events ever, allowing Topuria to announce his arrival to the world. Scared stiff of his punching power and confidence, the featherweights wanted nothing to do with Topuria, who jumped up a division to fight unranked lightweight Mike Davis. However, Davis could not make the date, so the English Jai Herbert stepped in to save the UFC's London card. A long, rangy opponent with an 8-inch reach advantage would have been trouble for any featherweight, and Topuria bore the brunt when a nasty head kick caught him mid-combo. But the Matador's grit and resolve saw him through the storm, and in the second round Topuria started moving forward, throwing caution to the wind, until he'd backed Herbert against the cage. A body-head combination folded the hometown boy like a lawn chair. Now Topuria was back at featherweight, waiting for a ranked opponent. On UFC 282, the promotion matched him up with another undefeated prospect, Bryce Mitchell. The hard-nosed, tough-as-nails American wrestler would give Topuria trouble on the ground, or so everybody thought. A string of knockouts had made everybody forget that Topuria started out as a ground specialist. The fight started out competitive before quickly turning into one-way traffic. Mitchell was still standing, but Topuria's fast hands registered far more damaging blows. In the second round, he knocked Bryce down before choking him out with an arm triangle choke. It was a reminder that Topuria can roll around with the best of them on the mat, and come out unscathed. With a string of brutal finishes, it was time to climb the ladder. His next opponent, the gruffy Josh Emmett. Fans wondered how Topuria would do against a power puncher like Emmett. Very well, it turns out. The 5-round fight was a masterclass in MMA striking. Emmett's overhand rights kept rolling off Topuria's Philly shell as the Spanish monster kept dropping the scary veteran with counterhooks and straights, combined with takedowns and a healthy dose of ground and pound. It was a tough watch for Emmett fans. Soon after the decision was announced, Emmett was hurried off to the hospital with a broken orbital bone. It was a complete dismantling of a top 5 opponent, yet many people believed that someone who couldn't put away Emmett had no chance of putting away arguably the greatest featherweight of all time, in Alexander Volkanovski. Featherweight King had beaten Max Holloway to earn his title and had since strung together 5 impressive title defenses. However, he had just been knocked out in a lightweight bout by the champ Islam Makhachev. In the build-up to the title fight, Topuria was brash, outspoken, and dismissive of his opponent. Little did they know that what they considered cockiness was just an insane belief in his abilities. The fight started with Volk throwing an array of moves at Topuria: jabs, leg kicks, and head kicks, combined with his signature footwork. Even though Volk won the first round, the crowd could sense danger. Topuria was getting closer. In between rounds, the Georgian's brother told him that the champ's lead hand was dropping after his jabs. In the second round, Ilia countered Volkanovski off the jab, unleashing a fury from hell and sending the Australian to the ground. That was all she wrote. After sending one all-time great to the Shadow Realm, Topuria was stalking another one in Max Holloway. Holloway's volume against Topuria's calculated power would make for one crazy spectacle, but once again Topuria wrote off the Hawaiian in the build-up to the fight, citing his lack of power. Max had taken the most hits in the UFC history without ever being knocked down, but Ilia was confident in his ability to change that. "I would be the first one to put his lights out," he claimed. The two fighters put on an instant classic, with Holloway's blistering speed forcing Ilia to wrestle in the first round. But inch by inch, second by second, the anticipation for Topuria's magic was building. Neither of them was going away easily, but in the third, Ilia made the difference with a straight right that wobbled Max. He quickly closed the distance and threw a combination before landing a lethal hook that sent Max to the floor. It was like a scene from a movie, with one of the all-time greats lying helpless in the ring. It was an unpleasant scene for fans around the world, but Topuria calmly sipped a cup of tea and threw a rose in the ring to commemorate the moment. Most fighters chase greatness. Ilia Topuria expects it. Cold, clinical, and undefeated, the trash-talking villain has manifested each of his foretold prophecies. With this performance, Ilia announced the end of his featherweight run, dropped his alter ego El Matador, and adopted a new nickname, La Leyenda. After relinquishing his featherweight title, he has permanently moved to lightweight, the single most stacked division in the sport. He has his eyes set on the lightweight king, Islam Makhachev, who is reluctant to give another title shot to a featherweight. In the meantime, the company is considering all possible matchups for the Georgian. Will he face the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world? Will mavericks like Charles, Arman, and Gaethje welcome him into the lightweight fold? Whatever the future may be, the former featherweight champion is ready for the challenge. Some believe he is too small for lightweight. Others write off his ability to rely on single shots against top 5 155ers. But he is written out against the featherweight king too. At the same time, many people in the sport are convinced that he will go down as one of the greatest fighters in history. What do you think? Are we witnessing the dawn of an icon? Does Ilia have the makings of a double champ? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more exhilarating combat sports content.